Well, good afternoon, listeners. You're listening to Lament of Hope podcast, and I'm your host, Danielle Richardson. And I'm very excited today. I'm getting to speak with Arie Camp. She's the daughter of Jeremy Camp, who's released a few singles so far of her own. Most recently, Lucky You, which I highly recommend, going on Spotify, giving it a listen. It's really cool. It's different. It's more, I don't know, I would say poppy, but it's a different genre than her first song that she did, What We Need, a couple years ago. Um, and Arie's in England right now, finishing up an internship. So it's so cool to connect with her. So, Arie, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
Thanks for
oh,
having
go
me.
ahead. I
Oh,
was,
thanks.
I wanted to ask, for Lucky You, kind of tell the story behind that so people know since you just released this. And do
Yeah,
you like it better than your first one? Do you like the style better?
good question. Um, I would say I don't like, I love both of them. They're so different, but I love the space that they hold for each. And I think the music that I listen to is like such a wide variety. So I think it just shows like the wide variety of my brain and the things I like to create and the music I listen to. So I love both. Obviously they're different vibes. So this one's more fun. So it's fun to like be a little bit more poppy. Yeah, I really enjoyed making it.
Now, is it based on something personal? Because it sounds like it's a romantic kind of
Yeah.
thing, but
Yeah.
also like a lighthearted, not super, which is actually kind of nice because so many love songs or crush songs are really depressing.
Yeah.
Nothing goes right and everyone's sad and um but for you it was kind of like, I mean, it was positive, it was upbeat. But I wondered, is it like personal experience or you just were like, I want to kind of put out there a different type of crush love song?
Both. I was like, oh, lucky you would be such like a fun, cheeky way to like describe like a crush or love. And yeah, there's so many like songs out there that are like that. So everything I write is like either fully personal or a bit personal. So I think this one is like a good mix of both. There's definitely like an inspiration, but also just I decided that it'd be really fun to write and create that type of song. So yeah.
Did it take a while or not really?
Surprisingly, no. I wrote with this was it was the first time I've ever written with someone else. And we literally cranked it out in a day or even like less than a day. It happened so fast. I was like, I have a melody or I have like lyrics and like a little phrase and this and this. And then it just kept like going one after the next. And we all kind of fed off of each other, which is fun. So yeah, it was pretty fast, which is very exciting.
Do you like creating the melody or the songwriting part more, where it's like the lyrics?
It depends. Sometimes I will, usually a lot of the time my songs are first poems.
Hmm.
So I'll actually write out of like just because I want to because what I'm feeling at the moment and I'll write it as a poem and then I love singing, so I was wanted to kind of I like to do both. So sometimes I'll find the melody after I've written like the poem. Or I will be like very lightly playing. I'm not the greatest piano player, but lightly playing on piano, and I find like a cool melody. I'll record it and then write lyrics over it, or I'll just be like on the go humming something and I'll just press like record in my phone and sing a little weird melody. So it kind of just depends on my inspiration at the time.
What, you said poetry, like, when did you start doing poetry? Did you like reading it, or has it kind of been almost an outlet of journaling? Like, how did the poetry come about?
I think weirdly I did not when I was younger. I thought poetry was like the weirdest thing.
Me
It's like
too. Yeah.
demons. But then I think I started, yeah, I started kind of doing it as like a form of journaling. Um, and then from then on, I love reading poetry. It's like one of my favorite things to read. So a bit of both, I would say.
What's
Yeah.
your favorite poet?
Oh, it's such a good question. I have so many favorites. It would be weird to say, well, no, I don't think it would be weird, but really the Psalms, that's like a book, like in the Bible, the Psalms, obviously it's a bunch of different authors, so not one specific poet, but I would say the Psalms are like such a beautiful poetic book.
Yeah.
Um, and then Mary Oliver is a good one. And then going back to like the olds, I usually find like compilations of like different poets that I can just read through. So I don't think I could pick exactly one of them. But yeah, Wendy Cope, that's a cool poet as well. There's a lot of cool ones. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite psalm? Or
Uh,
maybe a better wording of that is like, is there a psalm that has become very personal for you that you feel and know from your own experience kind of thing?
Man, there's so many. It just depends. I think one I was talking about the other day with a friend is just literally in your presence, there's fullness of joy.
Hmm.
Um, it's a good reminder to be in the Lord's presence. And that's where you find like full joy and peace. So I think that was like it very right now at the time, it's just been like a really sweet psalm to look back on. And realize that your joy is coming from the Lord and like the sweetest of freedom comes from him as well. So yeah.
How have you seen that in your life? Because I mean, I know, a lot of Christians will say and talk about verses from scripture, but then when it's like actually practical to their lives, it's
Mm.
kind of like this disconnect. They're not really sure. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm supposed to trust in the Lord, but then when they're living their life, it's hard for them to know what that even means.
Yeah.
For you, when you're talking about in the presence of the Lord, there's fullness of joy. Obviously, God is not physically in the sense
Mm.
of seeing him,
Yeah.
but for you, like, what is there a life experience that has made that more tangible for you? Or,
Um, I think in worship is like a big way I connect, and I would say I feel
mm,
the presence of the Lord. I think it just depends. It depends on sometimes when I'm literally out on a walk and it's just like being in nature, fully feel like the presence of the Lord. Um, it could be with a person that is saying something super cool or totally random. I think it just depends on the parts of life that I'm in. It could be like the most random areas. I mean, my hope is that I feel the presence of the Lord at all times.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I kind of feel like I find it in different ways.
Does it bother you or worry you if you're in more of a drier season when you don't feel it as much?
Good question. Yeah, I would say so. I think everyone goes through like a drier season, I guess. Ups and downs, I would say. It doesn't bother me because I know I will like feel it again. I think I just need
Mm,
to be like comfortable in the space that I'm in and like giving grace for myself in that moment and making sure I'm not pulling back. And I'm still trying to press in as much as possible because then I think you can get back into that space of feeling the Lord's presence when you're
mm,
like pushing through the dry seasons.
yeah.
So yeah.
What's, I know obviously your life hasn't been super long yet, but
Yeah.
um, what's been a drier season for you that you can
Um,
remember?
I think I just go through moments. I would
Mm,
say like nothing super specific. I think there'll just be harder times where I'm feeling like even physically tired and I just feel like I can't give anything. If it's during worship or during just like my day to day, and then I feel pretty just dead overall. And then even it's like if I go and rest, then I will feel a lot better. It's just like sometimes after a long week or things with like friendships and stuff like that where you feel like I don't know, just maybe going through like a harder season, it could maybe feel like a dry season. But maybe not. I'm actually going to say no. I'm changing my mind because I feel like in the harder seasons, I find God even more. It could actually be more in like the day to day when you're just going through the motions that
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
like like spots, I guess. So yeah, I would say maybe going through the motions because I feel like in harder moments, at least for me, I try to like lean on the Lord even more. And then you know that you need him. It's like in the moments where you're just doing day-to-day life and it's fine.
Hmm.
It's like making sure that those moments don't become dry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of I just did a full 360, but then I was like, wait, never mind. I changed my mind.
No,
Yeah.
no, I get what you're saying because the mundane
Yeah.
is like it can seem the hardest because it's
Mhm.
just there's nothing special happening. It's just the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, you must do you face that a lot in worship? Because
Um,
is there for you, if you're worshiping a lot, especially since your family, your dad, your mom, like that's their life is worship and helping other believers to worship. Is there ever a time when it feels kind of mundane to you or no?
moments, yeah, as it is sometimes, but I feel like actually worship is like the one place I will almost always feel connected to the Lord. It's the way I feel probably closest to Him, probably because I've been surrounded by it my whole life.
Mm.
So music is my heart language, which means my heart is also connected to God, and God and music are kind of like, yeah, it just feels worship is just the way I feel the most connected. And I think my parents have done a really good job at like cultivating that as well, and just like our family. So yeah, maybe some dry moments or mundane moments, but I would say maybe not as much because I really love connecting with the Lord in worship.
Now, is worship, when you say that, is it specifically music or is there
Yeah,
other things?
I mean, I fully believe that everything you do is worship, as long as it's
Yeah.
glorifying to the Lord. So if that's washing your dishes and if that's praying, if that's walking outside, if that's meeting with a friend, I think you can do that in a sense, and that is worshiping the Lord. Um, but the way I connect most would be like musically worship, like to the Lord, I would say. But it just depends. But yeah, I think anything could be worship if it's glorifying to the Lord.
Do you have a worship song you really love?
Hmm. It changes, but oh, I can't remember it's called Whole Thing. It's not a very well-known one, but I came across it a couple
Hmm.
months ago and it's been on repeat. Whole Thing by Anna Golden, I'm pretty sure.
Wow,
It's
I need to look that up.
live little recording thing that she did, and it's incredible. Like I play almost every single day. It's so good. So
What
that
what
was
does it talk about? Like,
basically just like God, you can have it all. Like you can have the whole thing. But she just says it in a really beautiful way. So yeah, it's really cool.
and you said her name's Anna Golden?
Anna Golden, I'm almost positive that's what her
Hmm.
name is. Like a total, I'd never heard of her before, but I just came across the song and I was like, oh, wait, this song is so good. So yeah.
What do you want to do worship full time or do you have like what do you want to do when you like do you want to pursue that your mom and dad have done or
Yeah.
you're wanting to do something a little different or
Um, that's something I'm trying to figure out right now. I think,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would love to do any form of music in any way, whether that be worship, whether that be pop music, whether it be singer-songwriter. I don't think I would do exactly what my parents have done, like the genres that they have done. But I mean, they do, and I love worship as well. So it just kind of depends. I would do a worship album. That I think that'd be so cool. I would also do a really fun singer-songwriter, like funky album. I think whatever, because music is just the way I love to create. So I don't think I'm gonna put like a boundary on what that looks like.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have is there something you'd like to write a song about?
Um, all the above, basically.
Yeah.
It kind of just depends on what I'm going through at the moment. Usually it's like, yeah. pretty personal things. So it could be like something about the loss of friendship. It could be something about a family member that I'm having a hard time with. It could be something really hopeful. I
Mhm.
really want to write like a weird instrumental thing about different seasons, like winter, spring, summer, fall. I feel like that would be really cool to like encapsulate each season in like an instrumental. Don't know how that would work, but that would be some like weird goal to figure out how to like make one season into like a song, like with all the sounds and stuff. My brain just goes in
Wow.
tons of different directions about the possibilities are endless, basically.
Well, would and you'd want to make the seasons like correspond to your life at the same time, or just completely?
It totally could. Yeah, whatever comes out when I'm creating, I think that'd be cool.
That sounds really neat. It sounds also really hard. I'm just stressed
I
thinking
know.
about that. I don't think I could. That's not my gift. So I'm like, that sounds great.
You can do it.
Well, I mean, what do you, is it just, if you love music, music is just, yeah, it's hard, but it's so, you love it so much that it just comes, or like, because I would think that that's just so stressful, trying to make the song exactly as you want it to be and the lyrics to go and describe how you feel, but it has to go with the melody at the same time and it can't be so, like, and then how do you balance it not being too personal? Because if you put it out there, everyone, of course, who listens to it might, they're going to know what you're thinking and you're
Yeah.
feeling. Is that
Um,
hard or?
um, Weirdly, no. I want the thing about it being too personal, it probably is, but it's kind of just however, if you want to be like a private person, music is probably not the way to um to go, just because I feel like music is so personal, especially if you're writing it by yourself. And then with how it doesn't feel stressful to me. Sometimes it's hard because when I have something specific in my brain and I can't get it actually out, like the way I have it in my head, that can be hard. But I really think, for me at least right now, every time I've written a song, it just kind of flows out. And I
Mm,
think sometimes it doesn't, and then you just need to be like, maybe this is not the way to go. Let it sit. Sometimes people pick up the song later when they're feeling more inspired. Some people just leave it as it is and let the song just be like a unfinished song. Um, but when you know the song is gonna be like inspiration just keeps flowing, you kind of just take with it. You take it and run. And you just go down a path and it kind of all just like flows out when it comes to like the melody and what the vibe wants it to be. Um, I think it kind of makes itself weirdly. At least that's what I've found. Like if you put too much of a box around the song, then it would
mm.
be really stressful and hard to create, I think. But if you kind of just let the song do what it's doing and what it needs to be in a sense, I think I find it pretty fun and easy. So,
Well, you were mentioning that you don't put boundaries on what you write. It's kind of like,
mhm.
which you know, elaborate on that because I do feel like people put Christian music, Christian artists in this box, and it's like they just do worship music and it's great, but it's if I want to like a bop, then I'm going to pick someone else to listen to.
Yeah.
Um, but you said, no, I'm a Christian, but I don't see the need to just do worship music.
Mhm.
Why is that?
Um, One, I don't think the Lord expects us to, like, ministry can look so different. So,
Mm,
in Christian, you don't have to just be in a Christian setting. I think the Lord places us in different spots to do different things. And that can all be glorifying to the Lord, whether it be a worship song, whether it be Lucky You, the fun pop song. Uh, I think, yeah. I don't know. I think it just doesn't have to look one way. And I think a lot of people do make it look one way. But I'm a firm believer that it can look however it should look and need to look. when it comes to music or when it comes to ministry as well, because I think the Lord places us in different spaces to reach certain people as well.
Yeah.
And just places different things on other people's hearts as well, just to create different things and yeah, like I said, reach different types of people because like no one is going to be like I can reach every single type of person. Like God places us in different areas.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Do you feel that pressure at all with your music? Because as soon as you enter, the social media, put your stuff out there sphere, you see everything else everyone else is doing,
yeah.
all the different stuff and the followers and all of that. Has it been hard for you to go, you know what, I really don't care, what the followers look like. I don't care about what other people are putting out. It just matters to me that I'm doing this. Or have you felt that pull, that tug of like, well, this person's doing this, and maybe it would be nice to get more out there. Like, how do you go with that tension?
Mm. I've definitely felt both. There's one side of me, and like the main side of me that's like, I don't care how many followers I have, how many blah blah blah, how many streams the song has. I just love creating and I love doing music. But at the end of the day, also, if you want to continue doing music, you do need to have followers and you do need to have streams and you do need to have a social media platform. Um, so I haven't really
Isn't that
figured out.
terrible?
So
It
sad.
is
It's like,
terrible.
why? And I don't like social media. I try to not post, and then I have to post when my song's coming out, and I don't like making content. It's just not my vibe. So I find it quite hard. Still trying to figure out what I want to do when it comes to like social media. But yeah, it's kind of just like you have to at this moment in time if you want
Yeah.
to. Um, do music and you want your music to actually get out, you have to have followers and you have to have a big social media presence. So it is hard to find the balance and also know that that's not the be all and end all of the goal.
Yeah.
But in a sense, it is just like, yeah, you do have to have it. So I'm still trying to figure out what the balance is between that. But it's hard
It's
because if
so hard.
I would have like a very small social media that's private and I didn't have to promote my music on Reels and TikTok and stuff. But yeah, it is pretty hard.
Do you, at your age and just for the younger generation, what do you find hardest, as a young girl, Christian girl in the
Yeah.
world today? Like, what do you think makes life hard?
There's so many things.
That's
Um,
very true.
yeah. But two, I would say, um, one, I think there's just in my age and in high school and middle school, and actually I think throughout life, there's gossip is a really big thing.
Hmm.
Um, and I think a lot of people just like to take everybody else's drama or information and spread it. And it actually happens quite a lot in like Christian communities as well, which I
Yeah.
don't think is the Lord's heart.
Hmm.
I think that can be really damaging to a young girl. And then also I think social media. I think as a girl, there's so many people that look so pretty online, and there's like this
Yeah.
very specific box, I guess. And then like if I talk to any girl I know, there's they have for sure compared themselves at least once. Like I try not to. So I unfollow like the people that I would compare myself to, but it is hard when you're seeing that every day on social media. Just a lot of girls do compare themselves to unrealistic like beauty standards or even life standards on what how beautiful and perfect life is supposed to look.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of comparison when it comes to social media, and I think that can be super, yeah, it can affect a lot of young girls, and it has. So I find that hard and also just sad. Um, so I hope yeah, I hope there's like mentoring when it comes to how to help young girls go about that. And I try my best to be like a good example when it comes to um, not comparing yourself and being confident in who you are, because I think the Lord made everyone and girls so, so beautiful at just how they are. And I don't think anyone needs to compare themselves because everybody's so different in like the best way. It'd be very boring if we all looked the same. So,
Yeah. But I
yeah.
also, like you said, I mean, because it's social media, there's so many
Yeah.
filters, there's so many
So,
things to
yeah.
make people look the best
Mhm.
possible. Even now, people can sing and it not be really their voice. Like
I
they can
know.
change it so it sounds great,
Yeah.
which is crazy because then you've got the people who are talented working hard going, what
Yeah.
is going on here?
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but you're
crazy.
right. It's like there's all these, yeah, there's all these filters and things. And for women especially, yeah, it's like social media says, hey, we want you to tell your truth, be out there, say what you want. And then at the same time, it's like, but why is everything saying the same thing? Which is that I don't have enough stuff. I don't
Mhm.
look good enough.
Mhm.
My life isn't good enough. I haven't
Yeah.
traveled enough. It's just like,
Yeah. There's a
it's
never-ending
not
list of,
ending. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy and impossible to keep up with. And the trends change all the time, and the clothes change all the time, and hairstyles. It's just like you're never going to be able to reach that like goal that people are projecting online just because it's not real. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Well,
it's
if
pretty.
you, Ari, were just gonna, if you just were gonna do something that you really wanted to do, I asked one person once, what's something that you would like to do, if social media wasn't really a factor, and she's like, I'm gonna be canceled for this, but I would like to eat steak. And she's like, I really, really want steak right now. And I thought it was so crazy because I mean, what's wrong with saying that? But
Yeah.
because, this certain genre and just the trend and all of this, it's like, oh, how could you want steak? All this stuff. But is there something that you love that may not be trendy on social media, but that you're like, no, I love this and I'm proud.
Um, I try not to look at too many trends on Instagram. Most of like the reels that I have are like house designing or like watercolor. So my little
Those are
social
fun.
media bubble is like very small. Um, so I try not to. But I think this sounds silly, but like honestly just like living out fully being a Christian, and that's something that I do anyway, but I think in a sense it's not like trendy to be that, but I think it's like such an important thing.
Hmm.
um and then also I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like I need to think about it. There's not many things I wouldn't do because of some trend on social media. Like if I want to do it in a sense and I like it, then I'm going to be doing it. Even if it's like building a puzzle. I actually don't really like puzzles. I don't know why I said puzzles because I don't
Oh,
really
I was
like
gonna say I love puzzles. I love
I
coloring. Do you like
my
coloring?
mom, oh, I love coloring. Like the typical kids coloring book.
Yes.
I will color in those. That's not trendy. I'll do it. I don't care. Probably a lot of things I do are not trendy, to be honest.
What's
But yeah,
your go-to um like fun drink? Like if you're just gonna have something you like do you like it to be sweet or sour? What kind of are you a
co
coffee tea person?
everyday coffee.
Coffee? Do you
Yeah.
like do you like flavored coffee or
No,
just
literally just, well, not black coffee, but I'm not like fully dairy free. But it just like kind of hurts my stomach, so I'll do almond milk. So I'll just do like a latte with almond milk, call it a day. If I'm feeling like I need something sweet, I'll do like a little bit of vanilla or honey, and then that's
mm,
my go-to. But I'm in England right now, and the lattes are pretty milky, so I do a flat white here instead of a latte. But back in America, I would do a latte.
what does flat white mean? It's
Flat
just
white is like it tastes more like a latte in the States. But
Oh.
here it's like I don't actually know the exact equivalent of what it is. A shot of espresso and milk? I don't know. I have no idea.
But
It
for
tastes,
you, would it be almond milk or would it still be
yeah,
milk
it
in
would be
England?
almond milk. Yeah, it would
Okay.
be, well, they don't actually do, they usually just have oat milk. They don't have almond milk everywhere here.
Um,
I would go to oat.
do
But
you,
yeah,
which do you prefer? Which tastes better, oat or almond?
I can't really have oat either because it hurts my stomach.
Oh,
Um,
wow, okay.
I would try to do almond as like the best of all the worlds, but if I can't have almond milk, I'll just do oat because it's not as bad as dairy milk. So yeah.
What about food? Do you
Like
have a
what
go-to meal you really like?
it depends also. I like mixing it up. Probably tacos, I would say. Like I love tacos. If someone says, "What do you want to go out and eat?" or "What do you want to make?" I will probably pick tacos. Um,
Wow.
or fries. Chicken nuggets and fries. I'm pretty basic. Yeah, that's about it.
So then are
Yeah.
you just allergic to dairy, not to gluten or
Not
anything?
to anything. And it's like lightly allergic, not like I'll
Okay.
do it every once in a while. So it's not bad, thankfully, because I love cheese.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't be able to live without it. That would be very sad.
What's it? You really like like cheddar cheese or just do you like ethnic cheeses like
Um,
feta and
sure, all of them.
all of
I
them?
can't
Yeah.
have blue cheese, not blue cheese. It's too nasty for me. Like the moldy, nah, I'm good.
But you
Yeah.
like everything else. That's still pretty good.
Everything else. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, talking about food, I
Hmm.
know a lot of young people now are struggling with like weight. They worry about that a lot. In fact, I've had a couple people on who have shared with me, struggling with weight,
Yeah.
even as a believer, because, there's that wanting to be beautiful and what that
Yeah.
looks like. Have you
Yeah.
come across that in, high school, or for you, is that not as much something that you've worried about?
Um, a little bit of I've been surrounded, like not surrounded by it, but I know a lot of girls my age that have struggled with an eating disorder.
Hmm.
Um, and not like fully, I would say, but I think there's moments where I've been harsher to my body than I should be. If it's like, oh, I look overweight today, or just like I'm gonna skip a meal because my meal was really big. Like things like that where you're just like, that is such an unhealthy mindset to be in.
Yeah.
Like where did that come from? Because that is not the Lord's heart and that is not what he wants for like especially girls. I think yeah, they struggle with it. Maybe guys too, but I just obviously talked to all my friends, my girlfriends, and a lot of them have like compared themselves or struggled with it a little.
Hmm.
I sadly think it's pretty common. Um, yeah, and I think it's something, once again, going back to like the social media thing, it's really hard to not compare yourself to the
Yeah.
unrealistic beauty standards that there is. And even those change of like what your body should look like. Um, so you shouldn't be like looking to those things to think like how this should be the most healthy. I think yeah, it's just like everybody's body looks differently, and there's not one specific way it should look. It's just how, as long as you're like eating healthy and you're fueling your body well and exercising, so you feel actually like, because I feel for me, like exercising is not to look a certain way. It's more because I actually feel really good after exercising. Like my
Yeah.
head will clear and I will feel more energized. And yeah, so if you're doing all those things with like a healthy mindset, I think it changes
Hmm.
quite a lot. But it is hard. I think, yeah, I haven't fully struggled with it, but I would be lying if I said I haven't not struggled with it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, because I know your dad's come out with a lot of songs about anxiety.
Yeah.
Is that something that for you, personally, or you have heard a lot of stories and it's close to home because of family, but it's not something that you particularly struggle with.
I've definitely heard it, and my dad is incredible. He's so open and honest about
Yeah.
how things that he's been through, and it's so good for me to know his heart and like the things that he's been through. Yeah, I actually have struggled with anxiety. It weirdly is unlike me because I'm pretty calm and like a confident person. So it was weird when I started like feeling anxious, because it felt so like abnormal.
Hmm.
Um, but it happened because of like specific moments, with like friendship stuff and then some like other things that happened in my life that would like trigger specific anxiety things. I think now it's like so much better than it was. Like I'm rarely anxious, but there's still some moments where it just hits me and I can like feel kind of like clouded, like my brain's getting all cloudy and I'm just like, okay, I need to go like be away from people, take a few breaths, pray, go outside. Like I just need like a second before I'm like pummeling back into like a spot that I shouldn't be in.
Hmm.
I think it's really real. And I think also, um, yeah, I've definitely dealt with it, but I think it's a lot better now. And it's a daily thing to like
Yeah.
surrender to the Lord as well, like, okay, even though I just went through this like really hard situation, or I'm about to place myself in this hard situation, um, when it comes to like friendship or family, I
Hmm.
have to just like in a sense guard my heart and know that the Lord is like literally the God of peace. So just like pray, 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 and go outside. Like I literally love going outside and just like taking a deep breath and just being like, okay, I can do this. But yeah, I think it really helps. And I think because of those like I literally had an app for a while. It was called like breath work that my dad actually showed me. And it just literally taught you like specific breathing exercises to do.
Wow, and it helped.
Yeah, it really did. I was like, this is dumb. Like, it's not gonna work. And it was actually really helpful. So sometimes when I'm feeling like a little anxious, I'll just like take those specific like breaths that it teaches you. And it actually like calms your system. Uh,
Wow.
really cool. So
Has
yeah.
it been hard for you being a bystander, like on the sidelines, seeing your dad go through it? Has that been difficult to? Because I've always wondered, because I struggle with anxiety myself, so I never know what it's like for the other person on the other side who's trying to be
Yeah.
compassionate and understanding. But I know that that can be hard at times too, because as you said, sometimes anxiety seems so irrational, like you just get it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it feels like the world's ending and you don't
Yeah.
really, everyone else is like, why? It's a beautiful
You're like,
day, nothing's
no,
happened.
no.
Yeah. But for
Yeah.
you, like, how have you, has it been easy for you to be a helper in that way or like to be understanding that way, or have you found that hard?
Um, I feel like in the moments where my dad has been, he doesn't, I feel like get anxious around us specifically. He's not
Okay.
like an anxious person. I think it was like a moment in time that like he was battling with anxiety. And in that I was pretty young. No, I wasn't pretty young, but I was like younger when he was like having that like big battle with anxiety. So I would say my mom probably saw more of it than I did. I just was like, yeah, I was pretty unaware probably, just because I was little. But yeah, I would say as someone else from like the sidelines who's seen maybe not my dad, but other people battle with anxiety,
Yeah.
I, because I know how it feels, I can relate to them. So it's hard because I'm like, I understand that it doesn't make sense. So like I will hold grace for you in this moment because I know that sometimes it doesn't even have to be anything that like triggers it. You can just feel super anxious. So in that moment, it's like, okay, I just really want to hold space and grace for you in this moment. And I think that's the
Hmm.
best that you can do. Um, but I'd be curious to know someone's like outside perspective who hasn't dealt with anxiety and is helping someone deal with anxiety. Um, if it makes any sense to them,
Yeah.
what their mindset would be in that moment.
Well, it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like a lot of people come to you for like to
Maybe.
talk to you because you're mentioning a lot about like these friends and this. It sounds like you're trusted by a lot of people that they come and share with you, even if you're not directly going through it.
Yeah, I mean, that's always my goal is like a friend. I was literally telling my friend today as we were driving in the car, like I just really, really, really hope that I can be that safe space for my friends because I know how important it is.
Mm.
Um, and I think also like if they give me information that they will know that I will hold that like in my heart and that I'm like a trustworthy person. Just because I have known what it's like when people break my trust or when I thought they were a safe space and then they actually weren't and how hurtful it
Mm.
is. So I think it's like, okay, I know how much this hurts, and I also know how much it's needed to be like a friend that is there for another friend because I think that's the Lord's heart as well, just like sitting with people in the moments where it's joyful and the moments where it's super hard. When you laugh and when you cry, like it should
Yeah,
be all of it. So that's always
it's
my hope.
it's very hard to find though. I don't know if you feel this way, but I there's not the world obviously emphasizes a lot on the romantic part of life and the
Yeah,
relationships, but like just to have a good friendship.
yeah,
I
it
have
is.
not met a lot of people who have said, "Oh, I've been friends with this person for even more than 5 years." You know, like it's like we've been through a lot together.
Yeah,
That's becoming more rare
yeah,
among young people, it seems to me.
yeah, yeah. It is. It's really sad. I don't know why. Um,
Well, I think part of
yeah,
what you said is that there's not trust is broken more easily. There doesn't seem to be as much of a um loyalty to friendship. Like, oh, I really want to work through this. It's like, oh, something bad happens and then we're not friends anymore.
I
And
can
it's
be
like,
like,
no, like I thought we could reconcile through this. But
hmm,
that reconciliation thing is just not common. People are like, this is too awkward. I'm just going to give up. And
yeah,
so I
yeah.
wonder in some ways if there's just not the same, which is interesting because you think, you know, even I'm thinking on social media, dysfunctional relationships are so commonplace and like sticking with this person, even if maybe they're really unsafe. It's like, no, I feel this loyalty to this person. And like, there's so many stories about that, but like, there aren't any stories about how about a friendship, like working through something bad, hard together and coming out like better on the other side kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's like you have to kind of hold space for both because I've been in moments where, yeah, you're hoping that you can, in a sense, work through it together. And it's like, in a friendship, like, okay, even like, okay, I might have said this wrong. I might have hurt you, but like apologizing and then working together through that and like still
Yeah.
becoming friends, I think that can like even grow you closer in your friendship. Um, but in that, the thing needs to be like if there is a friend that hurt you or someone that hurt you and they apologize and they say let's move together and like get past this, they need to actually show the fruit of like
You're right.
growing past it because if
Yeah.
they don't and they stay actually in the same spot and they're like, oh no, no, I'm sorry, like no, let's like forgive and forget basically, and you're like, actually you're still hurting me and you're still doing those things.
Hmm.
In that moment I think it is good to in a sense, cut them loose because it's actually harmful to both of you to hold on to that friendship.
That's
Um,
wise. Yeah.
there's also moments where you're like, why did you just cut me off? Because we could have just had a conversation and been fine, and we would have been able to work this out, and it would have been like a really sweet moment in our friendship to grow and be like really healthy and communicate. Um, so there's kind of a bit of both, and it just depends on the situation, I think, because I feel like I've dealt with both parts of the situation, but it is hard
Yeah.
to find friends. And I feel like, yeah, I don't know if it's everyone, but I think in Gen Z world, I think it's been like harder to find like a really sweet community.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think yeah, even my sister and I, we've been like really praying for like some sweet friends. Because as I'm in England right now, I have like the sweetest group of friends. But when I go back home, I don't have like a ton of friends in America. So it'll be interesting to go back to like from having like a vibrant community to going back and like having a lack of community.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting, but it'll be fun to find new friends.
Well, you sound like you're very confident. Are you confident with confrontation? Because you sound like you will come up and be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we need to work on this," which is a gift because a lot of people are more afraid of doing that.
Yeah, I that's like totally my parents too. Like we're all just pretty like head on with the things that we have issues with in a sense, just because I don't think it's wise or healthy to harbor something in your heart if it's like bothering you.
No, yeah.
So if something bothers me, I probably will say it. I have been known to be bluntly honest in many situations. But I feel like it's actually pretty helpful in moments where I'll be like, hey, this actually bothered me. And then we can just chat about it and then it's good instead of just like holding that in my heart. Because then it's just like bitterness growing inside of me, and that's never good.
I agree. Well, Ari, I want to be respectful of your time, but I wanted to ask one more question. Is that, you, as you said, you know your generation best. You've been
Mhm.
able to, you are in that generation, and also those are your friends, it's your life. What do you think, what do you want girls your age to know? Like if you could say something, you had a little podium, someone gave it to you and said, "Hey, can you just talk to the girls of the world for 5 seconds?" Which would be really scary, but at the same time, what would you want people to know if you could tell them?
Hmm. I would have to think about it for a long time to figure out the one thing that I want girls to know. Um, yeah, and like,
I noticed a few. I can't say favorites or one thing. I probably should make it more like open, right?
yeah,
That's less intimidating. I need to work
yeah.
on that too. I'm always like, "What's your
No,
favorite thing?" And people are like, "I don't
I
have
don't
one."
know.
But
Yeah.
just all right,
General,
in
yeah.
this season of your life, what would
What
you
would
like to say?
oh, I think in this generation, in my generation, everyone is trying to figure out who they are, what they're going to be doing,
Yeah.
and what their life looks like. And I think the most important thing is don't wish like the time you have now away. And I think the Lord will beautifully direct your path in a way that you will like never know. And I think that's kind of the excitement is like the unknown of what it could look like. And that can be really hard sometimes as well to be like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing with my future and with my life.
Mm,
Um, but just like finding beauty in that and also finding beauty in like the waiting moments of like this isn't the ideal space I want to be in, but I'm not gonna wish it away and am gonna
mm,
know and like press in that I can actually learn and grow so much in this time as well. Like this time is actually so valid for who you are as a person.
mm.
That no season is wasted, I think, because sometimes it does feel like a dud and you're just like, okay, why am I here? You know?
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, and it's just like I think the Lord uses those moments, and I think He uses those moments to see how like even faithful you are in trusting Him. Because if you knew right away, then there's no actual surrendering and there's no actual trusting in the Lord in that moment.
Mm,
When you don't know, then you're like, okay, God, I do not know, and I need to surrender my whole entire life and all my plans and my future, because that is the only thing I can do in this moment, and I'm just going to trust that
mm.
you know best for me because he does. Um, yeah, that's something I would say because I'm currently in it as well. So I think it's like very real to me, and something I've been learning. So, but one out of the thousands of things I would love to share and say. But yeah,
Well, Ari, I hope, no matter what you do, that you do still put out music because I think that, like you said, it's a powerful instrument even now for people to hear truth and to hear encouragement through music.
yeah,
Um, but thank you so much for this time. I mean, I loved getting to connect with you, and it was just so neat to hear your heart for the Lord and what you want to do, and also just kind of getting to gauge your personality, which seems very calm and restful, which is so nice.
Thank you. Yours too. It's so nice chatting with you. It's
You're
been fun.
so welcome. Well, have a good day and thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day as well.